This week on Talking Pictures with Neil Rosen, we'll look at a new movie called Air, starring Matt Damon and directed by Ben Affleck. A new film about the Boston Strangler with Keira Knightley and Carrie Coon. Spinning Gold, about the man who launched the careers of Donna Summer, Kiss, and The Village People, plus a look at the final season of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. We've got all that and many more movie picks coming up. I'm Neil Rosen, and welcome to Talking Pictures. It's our monthly Critic Roundtable show, where we debate what's worth watching and what's not when it comes to new releases, hidden gems, and Hollywood classics. Joining me today are Lisa Rossman from Signs and Sirens, Bill McCuddy from Gold Derby and The Accutron Show, and Mike Sargent from WBAI and the Brown and Black Podcast. All right, let's get started with a look at several new films and limited series in theaters and or streaming, beginning with something called Air, starring Matt Damon as an exec at Nike trying to sign rookie Michael Jordan. Let's take a look at a clip.
Why are you in Wilmington, North Carolina?
Because I believe in your son. I believe he's different. And I believe you might be the only person on earth who knows it. That's why I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina.
All right, Mr. Vaccaro, thank you for coming.
Lisa, tell us about Air.
Okay, there is a line repeated throughout this movie. A shoe is just a shoe until someone steps into it. It distills how the relationship between Nike and Michael Jordan not only put the then upstart company on the map, but also liberated professional athletes, many of them young men of color, to control and monetize their own image and their own labor. And you know what? Cheesy, but somehow moving. That line also kind of nails why this latest film from Ben Affleck really, really works. It's a Cinderella story at heart, and it's set in Portland, Oregon in 1984. It reunites Affleck with his hometown bestie, Matt Damon, who plays Nike's basketball guru, Sonny Vaccaro. And he gets the idea to sink his division's entire marketing budget into 18-year-old Michael Jordan. To do that, he has to convince Jordan's brilliant mom, Dolores, who's played by Viola Davis. Amazing.
She steals the show.
She's so good.
Whenever she's on camera, she steals
I know,
it.
just like you're trying to steal my moment. And this, and the two of
I
the
would
journey.
never dream of it.
You just did, kid. I still can't pretend this movie isn't fun and feel good with a non-stop 80s soundtrack. I mean, some movies are underdogs that come out this time of year. This one is an overdog.
Mike.
I agree with her. It has a great soundtrack. I agree with her. Viola Davis is amazing. And I agree with her that it does work. I like the film. I enjoy it. But the conceit of it, the idea, and this is very specific. Like when you see this movie, you go, okay, why is this movie about him and not Viola Davis's character, Michael Jordan's mom? Why do we never see, and the conceit of never seeing Michael Jordan kind of works.
I think it's smart, actually.
It's smart.
He's
but
such an iconic,
I agree.
recognizable
Who would play
figure. Why
who would
have
play
an actor
Michael?
play him?
It's a problem that in another movie we're going to review, having people play iconic figures is really not the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But while I enjoyed it, I have to say I can't help but thinking, haven't we gotten past this type of telling of stories of what is amazing things that have happened to African Americans?
Super fair. Super fair.
That's just mine.
I enjoyed the
Super
film,
fair
and
point.
Ben Affleck's personal life, the marriage to J-Lo before, Jennifer Garner, it overshadows the fact that this guy is really an excellent director. I mean, Argo was terrific. The Town was really good. And when he's paired with Matt Damon from, all the way back to Good Will Hunting, they usually make good movies together.
Totally.
It's very enjoyable. I wish they made more movies like this. They don't make a lot of things like this. And even though we know ultimately what's going to happen, will Nike get the Air Jordan shoe? The mark of a good movie is, to still keep you in suspense and still keep you interested in how did they get to that point. And this movie accomplishes that. Matt Damon, pouchy and really obsessed with doing this. He's terrific. And as I said earlier, Viola Davis does steal every scene. And Chris Messina, as you said, as the agent, funny.
Also, Chris Tucker is awesome in this
Yeah,
movie.
we haven't.
I
When have
love
we seen Chris
Tucker.
Tucker lately?
He
I
is
mean,
so good.
He's been missing in action for so many years.
Mike, the name of a David Bowie song is now the name of a movie, Space Odyssey. Oddity. Tell us about it.
All right, Space Oddity is about a young man named Alex, and he is very depressed. And he's decided the best thing he can do is leave the planet and join a Mars program. Now, this is a film that is directed by Kyra Sedgwick, and she puts her husband, Kevin Bacon, in it. He plays the dad. But it's really a story about a family that's grieving, and what are they going to do, and how are they going to deal with it? And then he meets a girl who's like a former swimmer who's turned into an insurance broker. They meet cute, and then it tries to be a romance, but at the same time, it's a mess. And Kyra Sedgwick, I think, was hoping to make a good film, clearly. And I think that maybe her next film might be better. Okay, but this was
How could it not be?
This was not a good movie.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
You know, it just doesn't work.
Bill?
Kevin Bacon can do no wrong until he works with his wife. I'm really sorry to say.
That's the only good thing.
No,
in the
that was a
movie,
good
really.
setup,
Okay,
man.
I mean, yes, but
For the 5 minutes
this
that
is
he's
like
in
a weird Hallmark movie
exactly what it
that actually I don't know how it got made, except that they were attached to it, obviously. Can't recommend it. It's Oddity, all right.
The New York Times' Ben Konigsberg said that men will literally contemplate traveling to Mars instead of going to therapy in this movie. And I honestly feel like, mic drop, because it's so on point. This movie deserves, it's trying to be high concept and a cute romance and a family trauma drama. It doesn't make significant headway in any of these areas. I love supporting female directors, y'all know that. And I actually love Kyra Sedgwick. But maybe this is a case of don't quit your day job, doll.
As Bill just said, yes, it's like a Hallmark Channel movie meets one of those old ABC after-school special things. I mean, what is this movie really? Is it trying to be a family drama?
I just
Is it
said that.
Yeah, is it trying
I
to be a
just
love
said
story?
that.
Is it trying to be an environmental activist thing? There's too much going on here. I didn't care for the lead, Kyle Allen. I didn't think he was really had the.
You know who he reminded me of? Young Patrick Dempsey before he had his nose fixed.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. There you
Good
go.
one.
There you go.
And Simon Helberg from the Big Bang Theory is completely wasted. With
He's almost always
with this
wasted.
balky kind of accent, which is he's just kind of thrown into the movie.
Yep.
For a feature film directorial debut by Kyra Sedgwick, I think she misses the mark, and the movie is I'd skip it. Bill, let's talk about Paint.
All right, yeah, let's watch this dry. It was written and directed by Britt McAdams. He wrote the script back in 2010, and it's the kind of funny comedy inspired by Mop Top Monet Bob Ross. Now, if you don't know who Bob Ross is, you've never been high. This is the guy that in the middle of the night you turn the TV on and he was painting. Owen Wilson is Carl Nargle, a funny name, who hosts Vermont's #1 painting show. He's the watercolor whisperer until the station hires a younger, better looking painter. Carl doesn't take it well. There are jokes here about CB radio, call waiting, faxes, and it's trying to paint a funnier picture, as Neil Rosen would say. But Wilson is perfect. The script, however, is by the numbers. I'm just not feeling his sandals.
Sometimes movies get released earlier in the year because they're oddball sleepers that distribution companies can't figure out how to market. And sometimes they get released now because they're just not that good. And I think that one lives in the latter category. Despite its great subject and its great cast, I almost always find it impossible to resist Michaela Watkins, Stephen Root. I love that
Root
dude.
is great.
But here, everything is sacrificed at the altar of, another sad sack tale of an aging white guy who's super sad that the world is no longer his oyster. Who cares?
Mike?
That's an American story.
That's the
Well,
American story.
I think
My story.
I pretty much agree with everything you've said here, but I have to say I liked it a lot better than Space Oddity.
Well, what's that? Is that saying a lot?
I did laugh a few times.
Faint praise.
So this is the cream of the crap, you're
This
saying?
is the cream of the crap. I thought this film was middling. It wasn't terrible. Nobody embarrasses himself. Stephen Root is always great.
Right.
It seemed like it was a joke in search of a punchline.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well,
Right
this
on.
movie was extremely funny and amusing to me for 10 minutes. And then it just
All
Bob
together or spread out?
the first 10 minutes. Bob Ross, is ripe for parody. Did Will Ferrell do him, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, on
If
Saturday.
I feel like he is him
on
in
Saturday
another
Night Live.
universe.
It makes a great 5-minute skit, but then it's a one-note thing that completely runs out of steam.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the fact that the guy's getting competition at his station from another artist who's getting better ratings, and everybody wants to sleep with this guy, and all of a sudden they don't.
And then they want to sleep with her.
Yeah, and Owen Wilson got really tiring. I mean, for the first few minutes of like, oh, look at them, we're putting white paint and making little
what I'm
mountains.
saying, like,
yeah, it's funny. And
Hollywood, find other stories.
and then you're stuck with another hour and 20 minutes of the thing. So I don't know, boring. That's what I'd say. Spinning Gold is the name of a new movie that looks at the life of Neil Bogart, who launched the careers of many famous recording artists. Let's take a look at a clip.
Neil, don't do this.
Hey, you called me, Bill.
To talk about it, not so that you could do whatever you're gonna do. This came from Steven Tyler himself.
Called and said if we don't cut the pyro and get a smaller sound and light and red, we gotta pack it up and go home.
Well, he is the headliner, so.
Bill, you have to trust us.
Well, I thought we were the us. We're their managers, Joyce, you and me. Neil, I'm begging you, please don't gamble on this. Should have parked closer.
And sometimes they hear it even when they don't know it.
Mike, tell everybody about Spinning Gold.
Wow. Okay. Well, if you have a Mac, you're familiar with the spinning ball. This is a lot like that. Where you're sitting there,
That's
you're wondering,
funny.
okay, what? You know, this is a movie that is written and directed by Timothy Bogart, who is the son of.
No bias there.
Okay, and there are other Bogarts that are involved with the film. And if you don't know who Neil Bogart was, he created Casablanca Records. He discovered Donna Summers, Parliament, Bill Withers. The list goes on.
The Village People.
Kiss.
The Village
Kiss.
People, Kiss, and
Aerosmith.
It's a great story about a fascinating man.
An independent label, too.
This is not that movie.
Yeah.
This is a movie that has been
Yeah.
10 years in the making. At one point, Spike Lee was supposed to direct this.
That would have been better.
Well, come on.
Anything would have been better.
I think that the four of us could have gotten together and made a better movie about this guy. But it's a fascinating story that still deserves a great movie.
Yep.
And it also has the crippling task of casting other people to play Gladys Knight.
Donna
Kiss.
Summer.
Mike,
How badly
this
cast
was
were
the
Kiss?
this was the one of the major problems here is I don't want to hear somebody doing a cover supposed to be Gladys Knight or somebody covering a song of Donna Summer trying to sound like Donna Summer. I'd rather like Air, where the soundtrack was great. Give me let them lip sync the original.
Yeah, but that has to be a financial consideration here.
Always,
because
always.
They must have gotten the rights somehow to the songs, but not the original performances by those songs, or we would have been watching a much better movie with people lip syncing the real songs.
Yeah.
This is one of many critical problems in this motion picture.
Many.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
it doesn't really deal the cards straight. I don't believe for a second. In fact, I know somebody in the Village People, and they told me they weren't taught how to spell YMCA by Neil Bogart. I don't for a second think that he sat down next to Gladys Knight and changed Midnight Train to Houston.
Oh, it's so
to Midnight
obnoxious.
Train to
Yeah.
Georgia.
What about?
But I'm
making
sad
Donna
because that was a
Summer
great moment.
Pretend to have orgasms during the
Yeah,
scene.
okay.
Like,
well,
he's the one
that's
who
an
came
old
up with-
story.
no.
That allegedly kind of sort of did
Sort
happen,
of
but couldn't
happened.
have happened.
It doesn't
that
matter.
way.
It's all boring.
No, honestly, the headline to me is that Bogart's kid made the movie because it makes it two-dimensional, it makes it fawning, it makes it delusional in a way that only a son making a movie about a dad who died young that he puts on a pedestal could make it. It's such a shame because y'all are right. This is a legitimately fascinating chapter in 20th century music that deserves to be smarter and more compelling than a Wikipedia entry.
So well said.
And also, excuse me, what is this whole business of him talking directly to the camera throughout the
God.
whole movie? It's so painful.
They were going to put me out of business, but I said I don't care that I'm $5 million.
Oh, my
Listen,
gosh.
You know the
That's
other
how you know it's going to be bad.
You know
When
the other
watch a
major
movie
problem with this
quick
movie?
editing and voiceover, you're like, ah.
You know the other major problem with this movie is the lead, Jeremy Jordan.
Yeah, he's bad.
He's awful. This guy can't act. Justin Timberlake originally was going to do this, and maybe he read the script and dropped out. But
Maybe.
Okay, well, there you go. But this guy Jeremy Jordan plays Neil Bogart. I mean, the acting is so atrocious
So bad.
that it distracts me from. I mean, maybe even with the same script, another actor could have elevated it to some extent. But this is just as you said, Lisa, and all these. This guy is ripe for a good story, Neil Bogart, and this is not that
I feel
movie.
like we need Bill to bring it home. Spinning what? It's not spinning gold.
It's spinning mold.
There you go. Bringing
All
it
right,
down.
Lisa. There have been many versions, many movie versions of the Boston Strangler, starting with Tony Curtis.
Yeah.
And now there's another one called not the Boston Strangler, just called Boston Strangler. So tell us about that.
Well, look, it emphasizes the two 1960s female Boston journalists who are investigating the area's most famous serial killer. It's played by the terrific Carrie Coon and Keira Knightley. Yet, I don't think this is a good film. And honestly, the performances here are strong, especially one by Alessandra Nivola as the sole cop who recognizes these women are onto something, but good acting cannot save this film. Its lensing looks like it's at the bottom of a dirty fishbowl. It imparts no insight into the case, which actually was never officially solved, and it doesn't impart the kind of insight that it's applauding itself for imparting about women in the workplace. I found this a very grim, indeterminate, seemingly endless movie.
Mike?
Well, I did think that it was prescient in determining that women are good at crime procedurals. I thought this was a solid film, but like you said, it's just okay. I think the acting's good. I love Carrie Coon. I thought the intent of shining a light on these two women who we've never heard about.
They're good ideas.
It's a great idea. I just feel that it was only about 70% there.
65.
I think Keira Knightley's miscast. I didn't buy her in this thing, and I just kept asking myself, okay, it's interesting to have it from their perspective, but there's really no reason to remake this movie. There's nothing, there's no way it's better than anything that's come before it. And I think that, it's just a sort of a star turn, and I can't recommend it.
Well,
Neil, what do you think?
Well, I'm just saying it's boring and uninvolving. That's the problem with the movie for me. It's just like I'm just not ever absorbed into this movie. And as you said, Bill, there's many other versions that are are better. Considering the sensational subject matter that the director had to work with, I mean, this just ultimately falls way short. Bill, how do you blow up a pipeline?
Well, if you can see only one eco-terrorism thriller this year, or as the director Daniel Goldhaber calls it, an eco-terrorism Ocean's 11, this is the one to see. It's a crackerjack little film. It's effective, efficient flashbacks introduce us to a crew who want to, wait for it, blow up a pipeline. It was a big hit at Toronto. It features a young, fresh cast of largely newcomers, and it gives it an almost documentary feel. It is part high-stakes heist, part climate crisis statement. It's based on a controversial book by, am I saying this right, Andreas Malm?
Sure.
Andreas Malm.
Let's go with it.
Okay. How to blow up a pipeline is, I recommend.
You know what's interesting is this is not the film that anyone who's read the eponymous book would be expecting. It's an interesting choice to make it a drama rather than an instructive documentary about activism, but I think that maybe telling it this way actually gets the message in deeper because it's not so didactic, it's more kinetic.
No, it's watchable.
It's really, really watchable. And what it gets across is we're no longer in a cultural era where incremental action is going to suffice if we're going to save the planet.
We need something big.
Right. And so this movie, I think even its flashbacks, which sometimes can slow down a narrative, don't here. It just drives up the stakes, which are high, especially because every character in the story has a personal investment, has been personally affected by environmental disaster and corporate greed. And I really think young people in particular are going to get something out of this movie because, let's be honest, they're the ones who are inheriting this apocalyptic mess that we've created.
By the way, before we go to Mike, I agree, and I know you're very well read. Did you read the book?
Yeah, it's very good.
Because they chopped some stuff out of the book.
That's what I'm saying.
But if you like the movie, and the movie is quite good, read the book. It just even adds more to it. I think you did.
Well, this is the thing, but it departs heavily from the book, and I think in a way that's super smart.
Mike?
Well, I agree with everything they said. It departs from the book, but what it does is it humanizes it. It gives all these characters, show you just how multifaceted the problem is, and just how we are literally all being affected, whether we know it or not. So I think it really works.
It nails it.
I think it works because it takes a non-fiction concept and turns it into exciting fiction, which is not an easy thing to do.
Everyone should see it. Of all the movies we're talking about this week, this is the one to see.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate agreeing with you.
Racism is racism.
We have suffered at the hands of a federal government who essentially wanted to annihilate every single one of us.
We have a voice now.
We're done having people not hear us, and I think we're done playing nice. We're not going to stop.
There's teams across school districts that still need to make the change.
This is still an issue.
That was a clip from the documentary Imagining the Indian, the fight against Native American mascoting. It happens to be Mike Sargent's personal choice as we go around the panel, as we always do, with our Critics' Picks of the Month. Mike.
This is a documentary from Ben West and Yancey Burns, and what was so powerful for me is the first 20 minutes, you could have inserted any minority, any person of color, any person that's oppressed, and realize exactly just how deep it goes. Everything from what we know, because there's some shocking figures in there, to exactly what's going on, just down to the things that we all take for granted, the casual, everyday American racism, the tomahawk chop. And it's a deep dive into why Native Americans are against all this demeaning depictions and the stereotypes, and how, and it's pretty shocking just to see just how much it's part of our culture. It's just as American as apple pie, just to have these kinds of names, thoughts, caricatures, and what have become icons.
You know,
Native Americans.
When I watched this movie, I mean, I didn't know what to expect, but not only is it important and enlightening, I really learned something here. I mean, I had no idea what the big deal was before seeing this, about why are they making such a fuss about changing the name of, you know.
And that's precisely why
right.
it needed to.
And now I understand. I mean, and the first half an hour of this film, which precedes the whole mascot thing, about what these Native Americans endured. I mean, you and I were talking before we started, recording the show, about there were 90 million Native Americans, and the European settlers wiped out 90% of them. And then there's a Rand Paul thing where he gets up and he starts saying, we started America. There was nothing here before we got here. Nothing. Well, there were some Native Americans, but that doesn't count. I mean, it's just like, wow, eye-opening. Everybody should see this documentary.
To me, this is the platonic essence of what a documentary should do, actually. Like, it's almost a perfect documentary to me, because it shines a light on something we take for granted that is sort of invisible in plain sight, and it does it so well. And it builds out its case remarkably unpedantically, given how infuriating the subject matter really is.
All right, Bill, what's your pick?
Well, here's one I did see. It's called Close. It won, and so did the grand jury at Cannes. They gave it the prize. It's two 13-year-old best friends have a tragic turn in Lucas DeHaan's second feature after 2019's Girl. I don't know if you saw that. It
Very
was amazing.
good movie.
It's the summer and then the beginning of the school year in rural Belgium. The acting in this is just achingly authentic in this movie. The two leads are phenomenal. In fact, the whole cast is. And sometimes you almost think you're eavesdropping on these two kids. There's bullying. There's everything that's going on. It's fresh. It feels very, very timely. And it was nominated for an Oscar for Best International Film, and I think if Western, All's Quiet on the Western Front hadn't got so much hype, this would have been the one that won.
And the twist in this particular movie, I mean,
it's
just it is. That's the exact word I was going to use. It's heartbreaking.
This is a deeply sad and stirring and well-executed film, and I agree with you about how unnervingly good the acting is. It's also, weirdly, if I may segue, an ideal companion piece to the one that I picked.
What is your pick?
Well, mine is The Eight Mountains, and so far to me, this is the best piece of filmmaking I've encountered in 2023, for real. It's by Felix van Groningen, and it's a weird name, and Charlotte van der Meesch. We're talking about Dutch names here, dudes. And they created the terrific Underseen Broken Circle Breakdown. This one is basically an adaptation of a book about a decades-long travelogue that traces these two best friends from their youth in the Italian Alps all the way to their very complicated middle age on the same mountain. And it's really about how men can and cannot be there for each other, and about how we can and cannot accept nature, like our own nature, Earth nature. It's philosophical, it's expansive, it's absolutely riveting cinematography, and it has this totally admirable and unfashionable willingness to deal with silence, which is so rare these days in movies. I was in the world of this movie for days after I saw it.
Wow. Okay, I'm in for that one too.
Wow, okay.
Well, my pick is the 5th and final season of the terrific series, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Now, I always liked the show, and some seasons were better than others, but Maisel was at its best when it focused on Midge, a female stand-up comic in the late 50s, early 60s, trying to make it in a predominantly male-oriented profession. I was never overly thrilled with her family storylines, but wow, did creator and writer Amy Sherman Palladino step up her game for the end. What she's done here in the last season is not only wrap up the series, but she's created, I'm not kidding, a work of art. No spoilers here, as there's no wondering if Midge is going to make it big in show business. Palladino starts the season several decades into the future, where Midge, played marvelously by Rachel Brosnahan, is already a big star and has been for years, while Susie, her agent, also played marvelously by Alex Borstein, is now the most powerful agent in the business who handles the biggest names in show business. How did all this happen? Well, it all unfolds in flashbacks, and the technique winds up being both brilliant and engaging. It's more than just marvelous, it's a gem. Well, I had a chance to sit down with the people that make Mrs. Maisel so marvelous, and let's take a look at my interview.
This is Joan Rivers. I mean, how much of this is Joan Rivers? Because I'm saying...
Well, it's an amalgamation of a lot of women. It's a little Joan Rivers. It's a lot of Elaine May, believe it or not. Like, there's a lot of Elaine May in this. The intelligence and the thought process and the coming from left field. A lot of the way she approaches her comedy is actually... Because Joan was like queen of great hard jokes. Actually, a lot of different kind of women went into it, but there were aspects definitely of all of these women, especially the women that we picked who were women who chose to be feminine, who weren't, who didn't put on a costume or a facade to separate them. And so to make people say, like, don't look at me as a woman, look at me as a cartoon character, and then you can laugh at me. Because the bravest women were the ones that went out there and said, this is me, I'm in a cocktail dress, this is my hair, this is my makeup, and you are going to listen to me and I'm going to be funny. So like, so much of my father's career, so many specifics of his life, I can honestly say that really Midge is 100% my 6'2", bald Jewish father from the Bronx with a skirt, and they're tiny and adorable, and Rachel Brosnahan.
Well, that's about all the time we have. I want to thank Lisa Rossman, Bill McCuddy, and Mike Sargent. I'm Neil Rosen. Join us next time on Talking Pictures.